Hello and welcome back to Cows Week. It's day 5, it's Wednesday, and we're here for some of the finishers. Almost like I planned it. It's been an extraordinary day today. In many ways, much like yesterday, we had a long wait for the breeze to fill in. There was nothing this morning, absolutely nothing. But there was the promise of a sea breeze, and that is what filled in. And just like yesterday, we had a sea breeze that filled in from the southeast first, at least around the Cowes and eastern Solent area, but then was bullied out of the way by the southwesterly sea breeze that came in later on. The trouble was it meant that there was a big dead patch in the middle of the Solent that gradually swept eastwards and just blocked off the progress of a lot of the classes, particularly the black group classes, that have been racing out towards the eastern Solent and out towards Ryde. It changed the fortunes of quite a few, not least of all in IRC 0, where Gladiator was racing against the Fast 40 Pluses and indeed the other boats in IRC 1 for the Britannia Trophy, one of the most famous trophies in Cows Week. Although we don't know exactly what the standing was at the time, it looked on the water like Gladiator had pulled out really quite a big lead over the rest of the fleet and looked set to possibly even take that Britannia Trophy. But they sailed into a hole, parked up, even had the embarrassment of a number of sunsail boats that were far smaller, sunsail 41s, sailing past them, and they just got stuck there whilst Jean Genie, the Fast 40 Plus, took a very different route. She'd been a long way behind. She took a very different route along the shoreline on the mainland where there was just enough breeze to keep going. It was a much longer route to the finish, but she stayed in breeze and she sailed all the way around the outside of Gladiator to finish in front of her at the end. A dreadful blow for Gladiator, who looked like they were up for a trophy. It looks like it's gone to Jean Genie instead. Now, for the many other classes that were racing today, the starts were all to the east. In fact, the starts were to the east for everybody who started off the squadron line, and that was most of the black group. The white group went out to committee boats, most of them. But it was tricky starting off the squadron line. There was hardly any breeze, there was tide against them, and quite a few tactical decisions to be made. Do you start close into the squadron, stay out of the tide but risk losing the breeze, or do you start further out on the line, further to the north, with a better guarantee of breeze but also some tide against you? It was a tricky balance, and even watching the classes that went off in front of you didn't really always give the right indications because the breeze was changing all the time. What worked for one fleet wouldn't necessarily work for the other. But there was some pretty close racing nonetheless, particularly in the J70 class, as you might expect, for Cows Week's biggest, or at least one of the biggest One Design classes here. But there was also quite a lot of competition in the IRC fleets as well. It was a tricky old day. It took the fleets all the way around the Solent, at least the eastern side of the Solent. Most people will have got a finish. The IRC classes off this line here at the squadron. The white group classes finished off the Rorke Buoy, just to the south of the Bramble Bank. So another long day here at Cowes, but a day in which most people managed to get some racing in. A few classes were cancelled. The Red Wings were one of those. They weren't able to get away. But given that we were still starting fleets at 3:30 in the afternoon, that's pretty impressive to get the bulk of the racing in and finished. Now, just as we're all getting used to light winds and sunshine, the forecast for tomorrow is for Armageddon. Well, maybe not quite Armageddon, but certainly the forecast looks set for 20-25 knots of breeze, even possibly over 30 knots of breeze and some rain. Good old Cows Week mix. See you then.